The Galactic Summit begins. Commander Alex Morgan stood still, gazing out the observation window of the Sovereign as the stars outside shimmered like cold, distant jewels. The expansive view of the galaxy stretched infinitely before him. So many worlds, so many unknowns. His mind raced, reflecting the weight of the mission about to unfold. Humanity had fought to establish its place among the stars. But this moment, the Peace Summit with the Centauri, was different. This was no ordinary diplomatic meeting. This was the defining moment that would determine humanity's future. The Sovereign, a sleek and imposing vessel, hovered just outside the Centauri homeworld. Inside, the quiet hum of the engines provided a calm contrast to the swirling chaos inside Alex's thoughts. He adjusted his uniform. The black and silver fabric of the Galactic Command Service pressed to perfection. Every detail had been considered, every scenario prepared for. But it wasn't the technology or military might of the Sovereign that gave him pause. It was the unknown. The Centauri were enigmatic. Their culture, their technology, their very existence defied human understanding. They had advanced far beyond Earth's capabilities, seemingly appearing out of nowhere when they had first made contact with humanity. They had watched Earth from the edges of the galaxy, their ships slipping through the darkness like shadows, always observing, never intervening until the day they decided to engage. The first message, transmitted in a language that was more felt than heard, had been unsettling in its simplicity. Join us, or be left behind. Alex shifted his gaze to the holographic table at the center of the room. The summit was scheduled to take place in just under an hour. Representatives from multiple species would be present, some allies, others unknown, each with their own motives and agendas. The Centauri were bringing an envoy of their own, though no one knew precisely what to expect. They were not a species to bow to diplomatic convention. The few humans who had ever interacted with the Centauri had returned with little to report, their memories clouded, their personalities altered. Something about their interactions seemed off. It was as if the Centauri weren't just negotiating terms. They were observing, probing, and Alex had the creeping suspicion that the stakes weren't entirely what they seemed. He was interrupted by the soft chime of a communication terminal. It was Commander Lily Carter, his trusted second-in-command. Her voice crackled through the comms, calm and precise. "Commander, the Centauri envoy has arrived. They're preparing for the first stage of the summit. We have the coordinates locked. Shall we begin preparations?" Alex inhaled deeply and turned from the window, his hand resting on the back of the chair as he moved toward the terminal. "Yes, set the course. I'll be there shortly." The briefing room was a stark contrast to the calm of the observation deck. The walls were lined with tactical displays, data flowing in streams of blue and green across the monitors. The lights above hummed quietly, reflecting off the chrome surfaces and polished floors. At the center of the room, a large, glowing map of the galaxy spun, pinpointing key systems, sectors, and territories. Alex could feel the weight of the room pressing on him as he entered. Lily was already at the head of the table, her sharp features illuminated by the soft light of the holographic projections. She looked up at him as he approached, her expression both focused and composed. "Commander," she began, her voice steady, "we're ready. The Centauri have a sizable delegation, far more than we expected. The security measures have been arranged, but we don't know what they might do once we arrive on their homeworld. There's talk of their using bioenhanced technologies. We need to be prepared for any eventuality." Alex nodded, his fingers brushing the edge of the map as he considered the report. The Centauri had a reputation for being able to manipulate biological processes far beyond the scope of any human understanding. Their technology was seamlessly integrated with their biology, a synergy that made them almost unstoppable. Alex had no illusions about the enormity of the task ahead, but he had been trained for moments like this. "Understood. We'll remain on high alert. Have the others briefed and ready for the summit proceedings. I want full coordination between the diplomatic teams and the security personnel." Lily's brow furrowed, but she said nothing, and Alex could see the worry in her eyes. She had fought alongside him for years, and there was no one else he trusted more. But even she had her reservations about this summit. The Zentari weren't just another species. They were a mystery, one that even the most seasoned diplomats and military experts hadn't cracked. The biggest question remains, she continued, her voice quieter now. Why are they meeting with us at all? After all this time, why now? And why so much secrecy? Alex stared at the glowing map, his eyes narrowing as he considered her words. The Zentari were not the type to reveal their motivations easily, and even their most subtle gestures held deeper meanings. He had seen their fleet, watched them from afar, and yet there was always a sense that they were observing humanity, waiting for something. He couldn't shake the feeling that they had something in mind for the future, something that had little to do with the peace they claimed to seek. "We'll find out soon enough," Alex said, trying to mask the doubt that lingered in his voice. "But right now, we prepare for the unknown." A new communication signal flashed on the terminal screen. It was time. The summit was beginning. With one final glance at the galactic map, Alex turned and walked toward the docking bay, where the transport would take them to the heart of the Zentari's world. His thoughts were a whirlwind of strategy, diplomacy, and uncertainty. As they moved toward the unknown, he could only hope that humanity's place in the stars wasn't at the mercy of something far more powerful and far more alien than they had ever imagined. Into the heart of the unknown. The shuttle ride to the Zentari capital was a silence that felt like a weight pressing against Alex's chest. He sat in the cockpit, his gaze fixed on the swirling maelstrom of colors outside the ship's small viewport. The stars were distant, their light flickering through the nebula clouds like the last whispers of a dying world. The Zentari homeworld loomed ahead, a vast orb of opalescent blues and greens, its surface covered in crisscrossing patterns of metallic structures that glittered faintly in the dim light. Alex's thoughts drifted back to the briefing. His team had gone over the facts time and time again. The Zentari, a species that had seemingly existed in isolation for millennia, were now extending an olive branch to humanity. They had offered peace, but under conditions that were vague and unsettling. No one truly understood their intentions. Diplomacy, they said, would be the path forward. But what if diplomacy wasn't their true goal? What if humanity was merely a pawn in a much larger, more dangerous game? He looked across the shuttle to where Lily was seated, her face a portrait of calm, though her eyes betrayed her concern. She had been by his side for every mission, every encounter with hostile forces. But this was different. The Zentari weren't enemies, at least not in the traditional sense. They didn't use weapons to achieve their objectives, but their power was still immeasurable. It lay not in their armies, but in their intelligence, their biological manipulation, and their subtle control over the flow of information. Alex had a deep sense that this summit was not about peace, it was about something else entirely. "Commander," Lily's voice broke through the stillness, her tone even but carrying an undercurrent of tension. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" Alex shifted his gaze to meet hers, eyes narrowing. That we're walking into a trap. She didn't reply immediately, but the flash of agreement in her eyes said everything. They both knew the stakes, and they both knew that the Zentari had no interest in making friends. At least, not in the human sense of the word. "Do you think they know about the project?" Lily asked, her voice lower now, as though afraid the walls might hear. Alex clenched his jaw. The project. It was the reason humanity had been so determined to reach out to the stars. It was a weapon, one born out of desperation, a response to the growing power of unknown alien forces across the galaxy. The project was not something that could be disclosed casually, not in this environment. If the Zentari knew about it, knew about Earth's secret weapon, it would change everything. "I don't know," Alex replied quietly, "but I suspect they do. They know more than we give them credit for." The shuttle shuddered slightly as it passed through the Zentari's atmosphere, and Alex's attention shifted to the planet below. They were coming in for a landing, And the landing platform was enormous. It spanned across miles of shimmering glass-like structures, stretching toward the horizon. From the air, it looked like a city of light, woven together by threads of silver and gold. The Zentary's world was a fusion of organic growth and technological achievement, with buildings that seemed alive, their surfaces shifting and changing as if responding to the environment around them. As the shuttle touched down softly, the ramp descended, and a group of Zentari guards stood waiting. They were humanoid in shape, but their skin shimmered like liquid metal, and their eyes glowed faintly with a strange, shifting hue. Alex could feel his heart rate quicken, but he maintained his composure, stepping out first onto the landing platform. "Welcome, Commander Morgan," came a voice from behind, soft and lilting, but with a strange resonance. It wasn't a human voice. The Zentari spoke through telepathy, their words vibrating through Alex's mind directly. "You are expected." Alex didn't flinch, though a shiver ran down his spine. The Zentari had this way of speaking that bypassed all rational thought, a whisper in the mind that made everything feel immediate and unnerving. He had heard rumors about how their telepathic communication could alter thoughts, influence emotions, even cloud memories, but nothing could truly prepare him for the experience of it firsthand. "We are honored by your hospitality," Alex replied, his words carefully chosen. He kept his tone steady, even though his instincts told him to be cautious, to hold back. The Zentari before him did not respond verbally. Instead, they simply gestured, leading Alex and his team toward the heart of their capital. The path was lined with strange flora, glowing plants that shifted colors as they passed by, their tendrils reaching toward the visitors like sentient beings curious about the newcomers. It felt like walking through a living organism, a city that was a single, breathing entity, aware of every footstep, every breath taken within its walls. The procession led them to a massive structure, its architecture both alien and beautiful. The walls seemed to pulse with energy, the surfaces shifting as if they were made of liquid metal, constantly flowing and reconfiguring. It was a marvel of design, an impossible fusion of organic and artificial, and it made the human-made structures of Earth feel crude and unrefined in comparison. At the center of this structure stood a council chamber, a round table surrounded by high-backed chairs. The Zentari envoys sat at one end, their bodies cloaked in flowing robes that shimmered with their bioluminescence. Alex noted the eyes of the Zentari, their expressions unreadable, their faces impassive. There was no warmth in their gaze, no sign of curiosity, only cold, calculating intellect. "We've come to discuss peace," Alex began, his voice steady, betraying none of the unease that coiled in his stomach. "Humanity's future is intertwined with yours. We offer our hand in cooperation." For a long moment, there was silence. Then, as Zentari rose from their seat, their long fingers stretching out as if to draw Alex in. The air around them seemed to hum with power, the light in their eyes brightening. "Peace," the Zentari said, their voice now echoing in Alex's mind, "is an illusion. We do not seek peace, Commander Morgan. We seek a deeper connection, a fusion. You have much to offer, but you are not ready." The word hung in the air, heavy with meaning, and Alex's pulse quickened. There was something in their tone, a finality to the statement that was impossible to ignore. It was a warning, but not one that could be easily understood. He knew in that moment that whatever this summit was truly about, it wasn't peace. It was a test, and humanity was being forced to play a role in something much larger than they could comprehend. The real question, Alex realized, was whether humanity could survive this test. The unraveling truth. The chamber was silent, the weight of the Zentari's words settling over them like a thick fog. The air itself felt heavy, suffused with an energy that was at once foreign and palpable. Alex's heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing as he tried to digest the meaning behind the Zentari's cryptic message. "Peace is an illusion," they had said. The words echoed in his thoughts, twisting like a puzzle that refused to fit together. Lily stood at his side, her posture rigid, her eyes flicking between the alien envoys and Alex, sensing the same unease that gripped him. She had been trained to read people, alien or otherwise. But there was nothing in the Zentary's expressions to guide her. Their faces were a perfect mask, their emotions unreadable, even to her trained gaze. She exchanged a glance with Alex, but there was no reassurance to be found in her eyes. If anything, there was more fear than before, buried beneath the layers of professionalism they had both cultivated over the years. The Zentari delegate, tall with skin that shimmered like quicksilver under the soft light, took a slow, deliberate step forward, his presence commanding without any visible display of force. His eyes, glowing with an unnatural purple hue, fixed upon Alex with an intensity that made his skin crawl. It was as if the Zentari were not just observing him, but feeling him, delving deep into his thoughts and memories, searching for the slightest sign of weakness. "You misunderstand," the Zentari delegate continued, his voice resonating deep within Alex's mind, bypassing speech entirely. "We did not come here to make treaties with a species that cannot comprehend the truth of existence. We came to test you, Commander Morgan. Your kind has reached the precipice of your own destruction, and yet you are blind to the forces that surround you." Alex's pulse quickened. His instincts screamed at him to say something, to ask what they meant, but the words wouldn't come. The Zentari's telepathic intrusion felt invasive, as though his very thoughts were being sifted through, weighed and measured, without his consent. They knew something that humanity had yet to grasp. "You believe you have created the greatest weapon your species can offer," the Zentari continued, his voice like a cold current through Alex's mind. "But it is nothing more than a toy, a feeble attempt to control the forces you do not understand. The project, it is a reflection of your arrogance, your inability to perceive the true nature of the universe." A chill ran down Alex's spine. His thoughts snapped to the project. The weapon Earth had developed in secret, a last-ditch effort to protect humanity from alien invaders. It was humanity's greatest fear made real. A device that could alter the very fabric of reality, manipulating space-time and opening rifts into alternate dimensions. A weapon designed to ensure their survival at any cost. Alex had believed that it was the key to Earth's future, a way to level the playing field with more advanced species. But the Zentari's words made him question everything. Could it be that the project, something so precious, so guarded, was nothing more than a trap? Something designed to unravel the fragile balance of power in the galaxy. And if the Zentari knew of it, what other dangers lurked just beyond the horizon, waiting to devour humanity's unprepared grasp for power? "You are not ready," the Zentari said again, the words piercing through Alex's thoughts like a sharpened blade. "You will be tested, but the outcome is inevitable. We will give you the knowledge you seek, but only if you can prove you are worthy of it." The tension in the room was unbearable, the air thick with unspoken threats and revelations. Alex's mind spun as he struggled to maintain his composure. He had been briefed on the importance of this summit, but nothing could have prepared him for this. Nothing could have prepared him for the staggering implications of what the Zentari were saying. They had known about the project all along. But why? What did they want from humanity? The Zentari delegate, sensing Alex's growing confusion, allowed a brief pause before continuing, his voice a quiet hum in the back of Alex's mind. "You have heard of the Galactic Dominion, the ruling force that spans across countless systems," the Zentari said. "They are ancient, older than your civilization by millennia, and their influence reaches into every corner of the galaxy. Their technology, their biology, their power is unfathomable to you. The Dominion controls everything, even the flow of time itself. And they are aware of your species, aware of the project." A wave of realization hit Alex like a tidal wave, crashing through him. The Dominion, the very force that the Zentari had alluded to in hushed whispers, a shadow that loomed over every galactic faction, was real. It wasn't just a rumor, an old myth of the galaxy's darkest corners. It was a force of unimaginable power, a network of control that had silently shaped the fate of every civilization that had come before. And now, the Dominion was watching humanity. Their eyes were upon Earth, and the project was a threat to their supremacy. It was no longer just a question of whether humanity would survive. It was a question of whether they would be allowed to survive. "What are you asking of us?" Alex finally found his voice, the words rough, edged with a mixture of fear and resolve. He had to know. He had to understand what the Zentari truly wanted, what their role was in this unfolding nightmare. The Zentari delegate's eyes glowed brighter, a dark smile forming on what could only be called their face. "We are asking you to join us, Commander, not as allies, but as partners. You will merge your technology, your knowledge, your species with ours. Together, we will stand against the Dominion. Together, we will reshape the galaxy and break free from their chains. If you are willing to accept the truth of your insignificance, we can offer you a future beyond your wildest imagination." Alex's mind reeled. What they were offering sounded like salvation, power, control, a future where humanity wasn't a footnote in the universe. But there was a catch, of course. There was always a catch. To join them would mean forsaking everything humanity stood for: freedom, autonomy, individuality. The Zentari were not offering an alliance. They were offering assimilation. Alex's gaze shifted to Lily, standing at his side, her face pale. She had known this moment might come, but hearing it now, feeling the weight of their offer, was something different. She didn't need to say anything. The look in her eyes said it all. The decision before them wasn't just a political one. It was a moral one. A decision that would define the future of humanity and its place in the galaxy. As the Zentari delegate awaited his response, Alex knew the stakes had just escalated beyond anything they had ever prepared for. There would be no turning back from this moment. Whether they accepted or rejected the Zentari's offer, the galaxy was about to change forever.